Hey, all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I'm your hostess, femininity coach, and author of the Crimson Cure, and this is my perspective. So we got a video here of a woman who's in her early 40s. She's a single mom, although I think her children are grown, and she can't figure out why she's never been married, doesn't have a relationship, and what's going on. So we're going to listen to her, and then we are going to have a conversation.
I never thought that I would be 43 and never been married, not engaged, not a prospect, not nothing. And I now understand those church women. Now that my daughter's in college, my son lives with his dad, I'm the only one here. And I work all day and I come home to a peaceful house. You see people's marriages, and I'm an Uber driver. I'm taking couples on dates and all of that good stuff. I had a guy in my car today that was surprising his wife and taking her to Italy and Paris. And I was just like, it's not about the things that he said. It's about the fact that he loves his wife. And I was just like, dang, was I like a terrible person in a former life? Like, was I horrible in my youth? Like, how come I'm not lovable? I've had men tell me that they love me, and I've had guys say they wanted to marry me, all of that good stuff, but I'm still single. And I come home alone. And I understand that I have the Lord. Trust me, I do. But at the same time, that doesn't stop the fact that I understand those church women now. I understand when a fine man walk in and it's every woman for herself. It's not a good feeling to be older and you see people around you celebrating their 10th, 15th, 20th, 30th anniversary, and you're like, yeah, I haven't made it more than 6 months. I never thought.
We're actually going to go through what she's saying point for point, but I wanted y'all to hear the clip in its entirety first, right? Because she said a couple of things. The first thing is that she has 2 children. She's never been married. She has 2 children, apparently by 2 different men. The first one is an older daughter who's grown. She says she's in college. The second one is a son that is apparently young enough to still need raising because he lives with his dad. Okay. That's problem number 1. That's a problem. And people will try to say that that's not a problem. That is indicative of an issue. Because these are 2 men that you chose to have children by. Where are these men? Why are you not with your son's father? What happened there? And did she actually say that she hasn't had a relationship to go past 6 months? That's crazy. But we're gonna let her talk.
That I will be 43 and never been married, not engaged, not a prospect, not nothing. And I now understand those church women. Now that my daughter's in college, my son lives with his dad, I'm the only one here. And I work all day and I come home to a peaceful house. You see people's marriages, and I'm an Uber driver. I'm taking couples on dates and all of that good stuff. I had a guy in my car today that was surprising his wife and taking her to Italy and Paris. And I was just like, it's not about the things that he said. It's about the fact that he loves his wife. And I was just like, dang, was I like a terrible person in a former life? Like, was I horrible in my youth? Like, how come I'm not lovable? I've had men tell me that they love me, and I've had guys say they wanted to marry me.
Boom, pause right there. What was the problem? What was the problem? If you have had opportunities for men to say that they wanted you as a wife. So that contradicts what you said. You said you've never been a prospect, but then you also just said that there have been men that told you that they wanted to marry you and that they love you. So which is it? You've never been a prospect, or you were a prospect, you just didn't like that guy? You were a prospect. There was a man, one or two men at least, that told you in your lifetime that they loved you and that they wanted to be your husband, that they wanted you as their wife. And you're not married to anyone, and you've never been married to anyone. So either you were never a prospect and the whole they wanted you to marry thing was a lie, or they did want you to marry you, you just didn't like those guys. So therefore, you were never in a relationship with them, or it never got to whatever point. Because if there's a man somewhere that's telling you that he wants to marry you, 9 times out of 10, y'all have had some type of relationship. There's a reason he feels that way. There's a reason he feels that way. And don't try to put it off in a former life. Baby, it's the current life that you live in right now. That's the problem. Whatever mindset you have, it's problematic. Because you gave 2 children to 2 men that didn't want you. So you say, so you're leading us to believe that these men didn't want you. You didn't marry either of them. And if you have not had a relationship to go past 6 months, then that means that you didn't know these men for that amount of time. You didn't know these men for longer than that before you got knocked up and had a children by them. So if you made that mistake the first time with the grown daughter, you mean to tell me X amount of time later, you did that, you made that same decision with another man to have a baby with a man that did not marry you? You did it again? You did it again? So are we hard-headed, beloved? Are we hard-headed, Bookie Butt? We don't learn our lessons properly? You did it the one time, probably when you were probably a teenager, maybe early 20s or something like that. And then you did it again because if you've got a little boy that lives with his dad, what is this? What is he? Anywhere from 10 to what? 13, 14 years old, thereabout, perhaps? Young enough to still need his dad and need raising. So this is not like a grown boy. This is probably a school-age boy, high school or middle school or something like that. We don't know how old the son is. But that's problematic right there. We're talking about you understand the church women. What?
All of that good stuff, but I'm still single. And I come home alone. And I understand that I have the Lord. Trust me, I do. But at the same time, that doesn't stop the fact that I understand those church women now. I understand when a fine man walk in, it's every woman for herself. It's not a good feeling to be older and you see people around you celebrating their 10th, 15th, 20th, 30th anniversary, and you're like, yeah, I haven't made it more than 6 months.
You haven't made it more than 6 months. That's crazy work. Not having a relationship longer than 6 months with 2 kids is crazy work. And I don't think that these women get just how crazy that is. The Black community has normalized single motherhood to such an extent that it doesn't sound to them as crazy as it actually is when you think about the reality of how that came about. You were with 2 different men at 2 different times in your life, and both times you made the same decision. Once when you were younger, and then again when you were a little older. Right? So which of these decisions of yours has been the culprit? Because while she's speaking very generally and kind of vaguely, she said enough to let us know that her decision making has played a huge role in where she is right now in her life, in her love life. because she works. She said, I work all the time. She work and go to church and go home. That's what she do. She's lonely and it's depressing. It's depressing. She's depressed. Or whatever, because she doesn't have a fulfilling love life, and career didn't take her. She's an Uber driver, so it wasn't like she pursued a higher education, or she was a high-powered career woman or anything like that. She just was a woman who overlooked. I'm willing to bet she overlooked her husband at least twice in her life. And it may or may not have been either of her children's fathers, but at some point, this woman met her husband and didn't want him. Didn't want him. For whatever reason, she did not want that man, but that man was her husband. Most women, once they get past a certain age, have met their husband. They've met that guy, and they just didn't like him for whatever reason, or they tried to be in a relationship with him and they were not ready for that relationship. They weren't ready for a husband because they weren't wives yet. You don't have a husband because you're not a wife, Bookie, but you're a woman with a woman's needs, but you're not a wife. And since you've never been, and apparently you've never witnessed it, you don't know what a wife is, or what is it about you that's not a wife. It's sad to see people get at a big age and still don't know nothing about their life or themselves, or can't express how they got to the point in their life where they're at. This is the result of no intent. She didn't have those children with any intention. She's never been in a relationship with any intention. She's never done anything with any intention. She's drifted through her life, and now she's at a point where it is not satisfactory. Whenever you allow your life to drift you, when you don't control it, when you don't have any solid intention about where you're going or why, or what you're going to do, or how you're going to do things, or whatever the case may be, if you don't have any definite way or definite thoughts about that, life will drift you, and it will always drift you into negativity, chaos, depression, and a host of negative outcomes. Life is usually not going to drift you into a positive outcome. That's not how that goes. Anytime you leave something to go adrift, it always crashes. Anything that needs to be controlled, yet you leave it to chance, usually crashes. Anything. Cars have to be controlled. If you let go of the steering wheel and let the car go adrift, you're going to crash. You're going to crash. It's going to be devastating. Airplanes, you have to pilot those. If you just let the airplane go, it's going to crash. Ships, if you're in a ship and you just sort of let the ship go, the ship's going to crash. Anything that you just let drift usually crashes. It usually destroys itself. In some kind of way, it goes right into destruction, or at minimum, it goes into chaos. And that's what her life did. That's why she don't have no man. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your hostess, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.